In order to show you how PowerShell works with Active Directory in Windows Server 2008 R2, I'm going to use the new PowerShell integrated scripting environment that comes with PowerShell 2. When I open this, I have a nice simple graphical interface. At the top I can load in a file, a script file. I can see the outputs of my commands here, and the bottom pane here allows me to run immediate commands without editing my script. I am going to use a script because I'm not a very good typist. So here's a script file. You can see it's all been nicely color formatted to reflect the different nature of the variables and commands and so on. And the first thing I need to tell PowerShell to do is to actually load the module for Active Directory. Modules are add-ons to PowerShell. There's one for SQL Server, there are ones for Exchange, and so on and so forth. So I'm going to run that selection, and all I need to do is use this little icon at the top here or tap the F8 key. That's now been loaded, which we can confirm with a get module command. And now we're ready to start playing with Active Directory. Initially I'm going to use some standard PowerShell commands like cd to change into Active Directory, and I can print the working directory. These are very similar to the way they work in the command line. If I type the dir command, we can see what's in the current directory. And so we're at the top level of Active Directory, and we can see the Woodgrove Bank DNS there. And we're going to have a look at that in a little more detail by changing into its directory. Notice I have to use the distinguished name to get there. In the command below here, I've just simply shortened Format Table Auto to ft-a, and what that does is takes the output of dir and formats it into a table, like so. And now we can see all the stuff we have in Woodgrove Bank, organisational units and containers. I can now move into America, for example. Rerun my dir command, and I can see all the states that are underneath the America OU. We've created an OU for each state. If I want to go all the way down without having to keep changing into each one of those states to see the whole picture, then I can simply add the recurse option, much as you might do dir whack s. And we can see all the individual OUs for every town that we have an office in. Moving up a level, just needs me to type in cd ... So that shows you how standard PowerShell commands can be used to navigate Active Directory. But we've loaded that module in, and that's given us some new commands to play with. And the first one of these is get AD object. It's pretty obvious what this command does. It's going to get all of the computers. So we've used the filter option, and we're passing in object class equals computer. So when we run it, we get to see all the computers irrespective of where they are in Active Directory. Similarly, I can interrogate users with get AD user. Again, you can see this time I've turned the filter off, and you can see the like syntax. Something else to note here is that when we use the pipe command in PowerShell, it means that we're actually passing the class across to the next command. In this case, we're passing all the users across. And then we can do a select on their properties. So in this case, we're going to select the name and enabled properties, and then pass that in turn to format table. And there we are. Taking this a stage further, if we have a look at get AD group, we might want to specify where we want to search, in this case a distinguished name. We might want to specify we want to go all the way down the subtrees, and finally we're only looking for domain admins, and we want to return all of their properties. So if I fire that, and we just scroll up a little way, we can see that the only member is administrator. And so what I want to do now is first we'll show you how variables work. And so we have a variable here called $admins. Notice the dollar prefix, notice it shows up in red. And it's going to be equal to the instance of the class of AD group that is equivalent to domain admins. That's just giving you a confirmation down the bottom there. And now what I can do is I can pass that variable into a new PowerShell command, add AD group, which is actually going to change our Active Directory for the first time. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to make Don Hall a member of domain admins. And that's run. So if I run my get AD group command again now, hopefully we can see that Don Hall is now a member of domain admins. And there he is. I've commented out the command to undo that, remove AD group. If you want help at any time with these commands, then you can just type get help. And I'm doing this in the immediate window. If you know the command you're interested in, then you can just put that in next. And then elect to see some examples, detailed help, or just go with the default. I'm going to go for examples. In this case, it gives me 4 with various different switches to show how the options work. So it's pretty important that you learn how some of these commands work in Active Directory and how to use PowerShell to get the most out of it, as there are some things that you cannot do from the UI in Windows Server 2008 R2.